Welcome to the Hunter Report, and today we're going to be testing this Samyang 85 f1.4 versus this Tamron 28 to 75 f2.8. I group these two lenses into the same category as both good for low light and they have zoominess, and that's what I like. I shoot a lot of stand-up comedy, and the thing about stand-up is that they're typically very poorly lit. And if you use a flash, you will definitely disrupt the set of the person. In fact, I've had comedians like single me out as a photographer and go, "Oh, you're shooting my show." And then, they ask me like what astrological sign I am and if I'm single and things like this. Stealthiness and sleuthiness are key. If I could afford some kind of like f1.8 135mm or even 200 zoom lens and stand in the back of the room, sure, that'd be great. I'm trying to show you how to get low light results at a budget. So this Samyang comes in at only $250. It is completely manual in every respect. There's an aperture ring, there's a focus ring. Tamron has an autofocus mechanism, which is extremely fast. However, the manual focus, it leaves a bit to be desired. There's a lot of pros and cons of these two lenses in the same general price range. The Tamron f2.8 does run $500, but there's lots of other lenses in this category. There is a Sony Zeiss for $2,000 in the 28-75 f2.8 range. There's a Canon and Nikon also in the $2,000 range. And then Canon and Nikon do make an 85mm f1.8 with autofocus, so that competes very heavily with this, and it is one reason that I sorely regret not having a Canon or a Nikon. However, there are some interesting aspects for being in the Sony universe, and I'm actually going to be testing out a theory. Does the Sony a7S turn this f2.8 lens into something magical? Anyway, this is not about Sony. This is about these two lenses, Tamron versus Samyang, how they keep me out of the spotlight when I'm shooting late night stuff. Thank you so much. Please subscribe. Please give me thumbs up so that Daddy can buy bigger and better lenses. So let's take a look at a stand-up comedy event that I shot with both of these lenses, getting very similar results, and I'll discuss some of the pros and cons of each.
So we got a really nice capture here with the Tamron. It was in 1/100th shutter speed, and I did burst mode. Only maybe 1 out of 10 photos came out with this level of crispness. I was sitting about 10 to 15 feet away, which was the sweet spot. This is the Samyang manual focus 85mm f1.4, and I chose this photo because we're getting a very similar result when compared to the Tamron. Since we're shooting much wider open, I can jack up that shutter speed. Now, believe it or not, shutter speed is a huge deal, and it really comes down to noise. Most cameras have noisy shutters, and this actually disrupts the act. Unlike music, where there's constant noise, there's a lot of silence in stand-up comedy as the comic is sort of warming up the audience. And if you don't get a good shot on the first few times, you're actually gonna disturb the entire performance with your constant like of shutter going off. So the basic thing is faster shutter speed means I'm gonna get my crisp shot more quickly. So this is the real trade-off that I'm playing with here. Autofocus with a slow shutter speed, higher aperture versus manual focus and a faster shutter speed. So let's take a look at build quality and features. The Samyang is a metal lens. This is a complete manual lens in every aspect: aperture control and focus ring. Extremely high build quality. The focus ring is very hefty, perfect resistance. This thing is beautiful. So the Tamron is a plastic construction, and it has two rings: a zoom ring, which is
feels nice. However, the focus ring is weak, and this is for manual focus, and it is suboptimal. So that is a definite con about this lens. Let's go and focus on the lamp, and back to the bell. Look at that, nice and fast. Really fast. Go into manual focus mode. Let me show you what I mean. So out here, it is just not enough resistance, and I don't feel terribly confident. It's like I have to press it with a feather touch, and it just doesn't give me a lot of confidence. Now, one good thing is the autofocus on this is incredible. So with an f2.8 and this focal range flexibility, you know, if you're in a wedding, if you're in just some kind of social function, you can focus on lots of subjects very quickly, and this can provide a very valuable tool. So quickly, let me do the pros and cons again. The Samyang is 100% manual. It offers a superior f1.4 aperture, however, a very, very shallow focus plane, so you're going to have to adjusting focus all the time. However, you can shoot at a faster shutter speed because of that. So that, now if you have a noisy shutter in, you know, a quiet environment like stand-up comedy, like weddings and various other events, being able to burst quicker, you probably have a higher probability of getting the shot you want. Another thing is, like, the Sony a7S has a silent shutter, as well as the Lumix GH4. So these are other things to test out, however, about 4 times more expensive. And the Tamron f2.8 has incredible autofocus capability. And if you combine that with the continuous burst mode on a camera with the autofocus adjusting in between each shot, you're going to have some amazing results. These are really 2 different lenses. However, I did group them into zoomy, low lighty categories. So there is no clear winner for me. There are so many differences. The build quality on the Samyang is 100% metal, but it is completely manual. The build quality on the Tamron is plastic, and the manual focus ring is terrible. However, the autofocus capability on this is incredible. So, you know, there's a lot to weigh in this. I hope this gives you some information as to whether these are the lenses for you, or if you're just gonna pass these lenses by on your intergalactic highway to ultimate photographic perfection. Thank you so much. Please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up, and I look forward to seeing you with more interesting comparisons in the future. I don't always live on the edge, but when I do, I drink black bean juice. But when I do, I drink black bean juice. Stay thirsty, my friends. I drink. Shut up. See. Okay, see. You got your crunchy, you got your tasty, you got staple, and you got your tangy. Rice, beans, guacamole, potato chips. You can get this done in under 30 minutes. Makes food for days. This is subsistence at its best. Please subscribe. Please give me thumbs up. Let me show you how to do this. Now for our beans, we're gonna be using the poblano peppers and the shallots. So let's get our rice and beans on first, and then we can get to the guac. So we chop our shallots, put them in a pan. Save this shallot for the guacamole. Chop some peppers.